Welcome or welcome back. If you are new here, I am Amber of Unique Upcycles. If you are not already subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button and little bell notification. With all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. This is the piece that we're working on today. It was gifted to me from a family friend. As you can see, it's very 90s sponge painted and it has a lot of ink all over. I had no idea what was under the paint or the condition that it was in. I was hoping that it was wood because I wanted to do a stain top and a painted frame combo. So I decided to start with my palm sander to try to gently sand off that metallic paint because I had a feeling if it was wood, it was going to be veneer, which it ended up being. But I realized quickly that my sander was not cutting through this paint, so I decided to switch over and get the stripper out instead. I'm using a clean strip in the 15-minute formula, and you just put it into a metal pan and then apply it on with a disposable brush. I just use a cheap chip brush, and then I'm just scraping it off, and I always use like leftover Amazon boxes to scrape all my goo onto. I did have to repeat this process twice. In between each one, I did go in with the afterwash and some fine steel wool to remove the residue. And then I decided that I was going to strip the entire piece, and I moved on to stripping everything after I was done with the top. And I will try to fix what has been broken. So this is what the top looked like after I was done stripping it twice. It was stained purple. So I brought out my orbital sander, and I think I only have like a 240 grit on there because I realized it was veneer at this point and I didn't want to burn through it. And I just sanded off all the purple and got it as smooth as I possibly could. I then decided this would be easier to work on if I unscrewed the top from the frame. I'm going to be staining the underside of the table just to make sure that the edges and everything that you can see are completely clean and match the top. So I sanded it, and then I'm just repairing a little bit of the veneer that was pulling up with some Gorilla Glue, and then I clamped it down and let it dry. While my glue was drying on the top, I went in and hand sanded all of the legs and the rest of the frame to get off any stripper residue or any buildup that was left behind. I started with a 120 grit, and then I moved up to a 240 grit. I then went in with some DAP plastic wood filler and filled in any imperfections, and then once I was finally done with all the prep on the frame, I went in with some Dawn dish soap on a wet rag and cleaned everything up. Okay, so now moving on to the hot mess of a drawer. My camera died while I was beating the shit out of it with the hammer, but I did eventually get it apart, and as you can see, there is a whole lot of ink staining, and that is going to bleed through like crazy. So to make a new drawer bottom, I am just taking some scrap wood that I found in my garage and using the original bottom as a template to trace it out. And yes, there's a bunch of Bondo patches on there. It became my Bondo board while I was working on another project, and then I will be cutting it out with my table saw. This little table did have a maker's mark on the inside of the drawer, so I am hand sanding to try to get as much of that ink off as I can to protect the maker's mark. It's actually from Gregory Furniture Manufacturing Company that was based out of Tacoma, Washington, which is where I'm from, so I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, so now to finally reassemble the drawer, I'm just figuring out how it's all supposed to go back together, and then using some Gorilla wood glue and a whole lot of clamps, I clamped it all back together and let it dry overnight. After all my glue was dry, I took some Bondo and filled in all the joints and damage on the drawer, and then once that was dry, I sanded it smooth with my sander. I'm going to be staining the top in Varathane Dark Walnut in the water-based formula. I really like this one. It's kind of like an in-between of a gel stain and a regular oil-based stain. I did not do a pre-stain conditioner on this. It covers really well, and I had some dark spots on the top, and I did 2 coats of this, and it really blended them in nicely. To seal in my stain, I am using Minwax Polyacrylic and Clear Satin, and I applied this with a foam brush. I did a total of 2 coats on the top of this and the underneath of the top to protect it. So as a Mélange ambassador, Morgan, the owner, usually has us test out new unreleased products, and I am testing out their upcoming all-in-one paint formula in the color Perfect White, and I am using my zebra brown brush for these legs. That's what the zebra brown brush is for. If you are unfamiliar with all-in-one paint, it means that it has the primer, paint, and top coat all in one. Mélange paint already does have a primer included, but this was the first one with the top coat. They will be releasing these at the end of the summer in their top 10 selling colors, so keep an eye out for that. So this all-in-one formula isn't available yet, but the color Perfect White is available in their current mineral-based paints, so I will link that below in the description for you guys. This is an all-in-one paint, so it does already have a top coat included, but I'm going to be taking the Mélange top coat in matte and just giving a little bit extra protection where the drawer slides, just where there's the most rubbing, to make sure that the paint does not get damaged, and I'm just applying this with a detail brush. To remove the paint from the original hardware, I boiled them in a 50-50 water to vinegar ratio. After I was done cleaning the hardware, I primed them with a Rust-Oleum 2x Ultra Coverage white primer, and then I spray painted them with a Rust-Oleum Rose Gold spray paint. I did 2 coats. Okay, the last step was to line the drawers, and then let's take a look back at what we started with before we look at the final reveal. I just wonder. And here it is, all completed. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to ask those. Also, next weekend, we are doing a big YouTuber challenge with 23 different channels, so you don't want to miss that. I will see you guys then. Thanks for watching.